Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Your favorite local grocery stores like Kroger, Ralph's, Fred Meyer, and more are now delivering on Uber Eats. Get 40% off your order of fresh, quality ingredients. Whether you just got home to an empty fridge or suddenly got a craving to whip up something new, you can get everything you need delivered in as little as 25 minutes. Get 40% off your order with code Kroger2026. Plus, members get $0 delivery fees. Order now on Uber Eats. Orders of $30 or more save up to $25. Ends 4/30/26. See app for details.
This episode is brought to you by Beneful. Dogs of the world, lend me your ears, snoots, and little toe beans. We've been sitting and staying for boring food for too long. It's time to demand high-quality ingredients, fresh from the pantry. Together with Beneful freshly prepared meals, we can start a mealtime revolution. Can I get a woof woof? Kick boring in the bowl with Beneful freshly prepared meals. Visit Purina.com/Beneful to shop now.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney+.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're gonna crack this case and prove we're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
You are... Gary the Snake. And your last name? The Snake.
Dream Team. New habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home.
You're clearly working it.
Zootopia 2, now available on Disney+, rated PG.
Amazon presents Jeff versus Taco Truck Salsa. Whether it's Verde, Roja, or the orange one. For Jeff, trying any salsa is like playing Russian roulette with a flamethrower. Luckily, Jeff saved with Amazon and stocked up on antacids, ginger tea, and milk. Habanero? More like habanero, yes. Save the everyday with Amazon.
The comments made by Amin Elhassan are made by him and him himself and nobody else, and not indicative of Basketball Illuminati, Tom Haberstroh, Anthony Mays, or any guest incorporated.
Inside the Fractured Relationship Between Giannis and the Bucks by Shams Charania on ESPN dropped today. I mean, what's your favorite detail in this report?
Whoa.
There's a lot of fun stuff in here.
So much going on. You know what's funny? I'll do something different for you. My favorite detail that's not in the report. Talk to Eric Name.
Oh.
This past weekend. Eric Name of The Athletic told me two things. Number one, that while he was ruled out and unfit to play, that Giannis would go through these pregame workouts, you know, the ones that everyone can see, with incredible intensity, including windmill dunks, doing all types of moves that emphasize cutting and stopping and jumping off of that supposedly hyperextended knee.
Interesting. I'm using my bad knee.
Number two, while he did not say this is the only or even the main reason, he said one of the reasons for the rift is that Giannis was very excited to play in the on-court debut of Alex Antetokounmpo's NBA career. And when he was not allowed to, that infuriated him because Alex was 11 when they moved to Milwaukee from Greece. Obviously, the father, I don't think ever actually moved to Milwaukee, passed away before they could get to Milwaukee. And so Giannis has been a kind of father figure for Alex. And so this was akin, not exactly apples to apples, but akin to LeBron playing with Bronny. So imagine on the day of Bronny's debut, LeBron, the team says, hey, we're sitting you out. You're not even going to play in this game.
This might be a dumb question. What's to stop Giannis from just suiting up? Is it an equipment manager doesn't bring out the jersey?
You can do any number of these things. Number one is to remember they turn in the active roster. they declare who's active and inactive.
That's it right there.
So if he just comes out and he's suited up.
I like the idea that Tom thinks it's like taking a drunk person's keys.
Yeah.
If Giannis doesn't have his jersey, he can't possibly play, right?
That's right.
Where's my shorts?
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I put it right there.
He's ripping the jersey off of his brother. So it has Antetokounmpo on it already.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have to take all their jerseys at the same time.
Draws an arrow from the 4 to the 3 and the 3 to the 4 to let everyone know to transpose them.
I mean, we went through this and we talked about this on Do You Believe last week with Joel Embiid.
Do you believe?
Getting ruled out on April Fool's Day and him being confused. If they rule you out, you can't play. It's pretty cut and dry. One of the things I liked about this article is in the first couple paragraphs, we've got after a loss on December 1st, Giannis and his agent reopened conversations with GM John Horst and reasserted the message they had delivered since last May, the time had come to part ways. Scroll down a little bit and you get into Giannis reiterating to the Bucks for a few months before the trade deadline that he was prepared to be moved. He declined to publicize a trade request. What are we doing?
Just synonyms for trade demand? Yeah.
He's reiterated over and over again to the GM through his agent that he wants a trade, but he didn't do it publicly.
Well, how about this tidbit? That the GM basically said, hey, this Miami deal, it looks pretty good. And old Jimmy Haslam comes down from above and says, not so fast, my friend. And so now if you're Miami, you're like, oh, shit, we're about to have Giannis. It was a done deal. And the ownership cock-blocked that. What an incredible turn of events. It's like literally franchise changing. I wonder who could even speak to what that experience is like. Oh, no, it had to be someone who was on a team that almost traded for Kevin Garnett and then 2 years later almost acquired the draft rights to Steph Curry. That's the only kind of situation I could think of that is parallel to what the Miami Heat must have felt.
Speaking of felt, Doc Rivers, he felt very disrespected in the locker room. In this story, we have this little tidbit that Doc Rivers started a meeting by imploring his players to look up his resume. And in a later report on ESPN, Shams said he told them, Google me.
This is incredible. This part of the article was brought to my attention by Aaron Grugan, who is our truth teller in the backcourt violation momentum discussion that we had.
Positive, what was it?
Positive position.
Yeah.
Momentum being established. And she said, and this is the best part, that after Doc implored his players to look up his resume, 6 people in the room told ESPN.
Yeah.
Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5.
6 sources.
This is a really easy one because I know what Doc meant when he said it. I don't think it was braggadocious. It was just kind of like, hey, man, facetious. Hey, you can look me up. I've actually done this before. They all know, right? But when they don't fuck with you, it will be delivered verbatim in a literal sense. And that's exactly what happened.
Shams' phone is just like, bloop, 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 bloop.
Mark Stein wrote about this, that Doc is on the hot seat.
He put himself on the hot seat.
No, I know, but they're saying the Hall of Fame.
He didn't want the job. He said, why are you hiring me?
Personally, I'll be honest, I told our owners when they called, I said, I think I don't understand why you're doing this, and they said, one of the things they said was, well, it doesn't matter. We've done it now, and we want you. And so that was a tough one. That's where you had the hesitation.
I'm on the hot seat on day one. I'm putting myself there.
$40 million later, though. What a guy.
I do love this quote as well from Doc. I know everything that goes on in this building.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everything. I know that Giannis has repeatedly requested a trade, even though the public does not.
You got to say that shit sometimes.
Also, did you catch the whole Kyle Kuzma debacle?
Wow, yeah.
Woof.
Man.
Kyle Kuzma apparently going directly to Ryan Rollins and Kevin Porter Jr. and saying,
hey, do you? You guys just be you.
Do whatever you want.
That's funny. And then he gets the first DNP CD of his life.
Wow.
That's incredible.
The doc has written his prescription, and this prescription says DNP, not all just disrespect.
Yep.
So wait, the tidbit that we haven't talked about, which is very Illuminati, is that Giannis Antetokounmpo was miffed because not only were they not letting him play because he felt like he was healthy enough to play. But multiple sources said the Bucks' decision to sit on Antetokounmpo cost him a significant bonus in his Nike endorsement contract.
Yeah.
Would be triggered if he had played at least 41 games. End of paragraph, next section of the story. So it is as a writer's little tool here, it is supposed to land with a big boom when you drop that.
Well, I wonder if Nike has an extraordinary circumstances grievance clause in their contract with Giannis, and maybe he could file some paperwork with them, to make sure that he gets that money, the bonus.
Did he go to Greece for 2 games in the middle of the season?
Did he?
I don't think so.
Didn't he?
Maybe.
Well, the extraordinary circumstances here are that the team isn't letting him play.
Won't play him.
Yeah.
Also, there's no salary cap or collective bargaining agreement when it comes to Nike, so they could just choose to give him the money anyway.
Oh, I see. I wonder if they will.
My assignment: uncover why the association inspires more conspiracy theories in volume and salience than any other U.S. sport.
You've heard of the Illuminati.
The truth is out there, but so are lies.
Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them.
The NBA has always been controlled by about 8 people.
Denial is the most predictable of all human responses.
If you're only using 10% of your brain, you don't even know that you're using 10% of your brain.
The NBA Illuminati.
If coincidences are just coincidences, why do they feel so contrived?
The Illuminati.
But you start to follow the money, and you don't know where the it's going to take you.
It is unspoken. They have influence among other players.
The NBA Illuminati.
I don't have time for your convenient ignorance.
Maybe I'm a conspiracist now as well.
That's all it took. Oh, we got books, we got schools. You saw a video on YouTube.
Why my eyes, sir? You've never used them before.
We are the Basketball Illuminati.
This is Basketball Illuminati. I am Tom Haberstroh, and as always, we are joined by the 5-star Illuminati generals, Amin Elhassan and producer Anthony Mays.
What's up, Illumination? Thank you for keeping your third eye open. As always, you can support us at patreon.com/countthedings. That'll get you ad-free episodes and help us continue to produce the show. Also, check out our YouTube page at Basketball Illuminati. You can watch our Truth Teller interviews and Do You Believe episodes there. Please subscribe and continue to show your support. Thank you.
We've got a big one here. J.A. Adande.
The Professor.
Coming back to the podcast. Truth Teller, return guest. He's got a new podcast coming out. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Kobe stories, War Room stories with LeBron and ESPN. And also, we are going to talk about Louisville basketball program and whether they fit the dynasty rubric. It's an amazing, amazing interview. J.A. Adande coming to us from the Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern University.
Today's episode is sponsored by the ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program. Do you ever find yourself up in the middle of the night with your phone in your hand looking up things like, is it normal for my dog to be making this noise? Or do I need to call the vet because my dog swallowed this thing? You're not alone. Those moments of panic come along with all the benefits of pet ownership, and they're exactly why ASPCA Pet Health Insurance exists. It helps take the financial question out of the equation. So if you have a feeling about something, you can focus on getting your pet healthy and taking them to the vet instead of stressing over the cost. Plus, when you enroll in an ASPCA pet health insurance plan, you could get a $25 Amazon gift card. It's a little treat for you while you're doing something great for your pet. Because big vet bills never show up when it's convenient, do they? To explore coverage, visit aspcapetinsurance.com/dings, D-I-N-G-S. That's aspcapetinsurance.com/dings. Eligibility restrictions apply. Visit aspcapetinsurance.com/Amazon terms for more info. This is a paid advertisement. Insurance is underwritten by either Independence American Insurance Company or United States Fire Insurance Company and produced by PTZ Insurance Agency Limited. The ASPCA is not an insurer and is not engaged in the business of insurance. Hello, listener. Producer Mays here to talk to you about Quinn's Cookware. I know cooking can feel like a lot of work these days, especially when the temptation to order takeout is stronger than ever. But trust me when I say that quality cookware makes a big difference in your experience cooking at home. Quince has got top-tier pots and pans, like my favorite, the extremely versatile and easy-to-clean 3-quart stainless steel sauté pan that you'd expect to find at a luxury store, but for 50 to 60% less. You heard me right. High-quality materials for half the price. How could such a thing be possible? Well, Quince works directly with manufacturers, cutting out the middlemen and passing the savings on to you. Now, Quince even carries fine wine, from Napa Valley Vineyards to Dom Perignon Champagne, enough to fill the Nile. Ho-ho! So what are you waiting for? Upgrade your kitchen with Quince. Go to quince.com/dings for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. Go to QUINCE.com/dings, DINGS, for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/dings.
You all think I'm late. Well, I'm not late. And I'm going to stay right here and fight for this lost cause, even if this room gets filled with lies like these. And the tailors and all their armies come marching into this place. Somebody will listen to me.
There's no better way to overpower a trickle of doubt than with a flood of naked truth.
But the complexity and the gray lie not in the truth, but what you do with the truth once you have it.
What is true and right is true and right for all.
You and I both know that that's just not the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Too messy. Keeps them up nights.
I'm here because in the end, the truth is worth the risk.
Speak a little truth and people lose their minds.
I'm a grown man, you can tell me the truth.
Why is it people who want the truth never believe it when they hear it?
So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something really outrageous. I'm going to tell the truth.
Jay Adande joins us here on Basketball Illuminati. Congratulations. I did not know that Chuck Todd is a sports junkie, but you have now launched a podcast with NBC, former NBC. I don't know if he's currently Chuck Todd. It's called Dynastic, and it's once a month, a deep dive into a dynasty, a sports dynasty, kicking off with the Dodgers. I presume you're going to do a Charlotte Hornets episode in some years to come on this podcast. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. They could three-peat maybe with Con Knipple, and then they'd be in the conversation. It's not official, but kind of the unofficial standard. I think you got to have at least 3 championships to merit consideration for Dynastic.
Yeah. Did you guys have a rubric? Like, this team doesn't quite fit what we're looking for here.
No, and also the name Dynastic gives us a little leeway, right?
Little
Dynastish. You could use like the Slavic C pronunciation is Dynastish. Dynastish.
The hell of a shooter. Dynastic. Stanislav Dynastic.
You would draft him. You take a flyer on him in the first round, right? If you just heard a player named Stanislav Dynastic, you're going to think, all right, this guy can probably hit the threes. So, let's take a flyer on him. Sight unseen.
Yeah, he'd be on your big board, right? I mean, like you'd have to at least look into this guy.
Are we sure he wasn't on Illinois' roster in the Final Four?
Oh, well, he definitely wasn't. Because I'm not as tapped into college basketball as I once was. But imagine my great surprise when it was like, yeah, that's Peja's son. Not really a shooter. More of a slasher, get to the hole kind of guy. I was like, oh, what's the point of being Peja's son then, man?
How does that happen? He's like the only itch that does not have a great outside shot.
Yep.
And he played for one of the great, like the original, like Peja Stojakovic was like the original, like itch shooter, right? It's hard to think of many. Also, the OGs, remember when he was pre-Drog Stojakovic? I was thinking about that recently. Like
96 draft.
If I said, hey, pre-Drog Stojakovic, would anyone in Gen Z even know who I'm talking about? But that's his full legal name.
They don't even know. They don't even know Peja. So I'm guessing the pre-drag. Yeah, no, that was so 96 draft. He got drafted, and he was Greek in the draft. Do you remember that? He was listed as from Greece because
is that where he was playing?
he was playing in Greece. He got Greek citizenship in order, for the domestic league rules and all that.
It'd be like calling Luka Doncic Spanish, right? He was playing in Spanish when he got Spain when he got drafted.
Yeah. So to find out that Peja's kid is not a shooter, I was just kind of like, what are we even doing here, right? Like, I imagine kind of the conversation between him and his dad, like, Dad, I don't want to shoot, I want to slash. Like, you're no son of mine. Excommunicate him from
Dad, I don't want to just be you. I want to be my own person. Who would be the best example of that? Is his game is nothing like his dad, but still like NBA player.
Clay
Bronny James.
Oh yeah, Bronny.
I mean, no one has played like his dad. Like that's.
I mean, Steph took his dad's game to the next level.
Yeah.
Or like there's some element of inheritance going on with Steph.
Because his dad was a specialist, and he said, I'm going to be a better specialist, and I'm going to do everything else too.
Yeah.
Was Rick Brunson like a pure scorer like Jalen is? Like I didn't think so.
All. No. Not a scorer at all.
That's a good example, right?
A game manager was what Rick Brunson was. He's a game manager. He's like a smart, heady point guard. He's the kind of guy that was like, he was a little different types of game, but same kind of role like Ish Smith. Like just in the league because you
also
need a guy.
Just tough-minded, Philly, Temple, John Chaney.
Yeah.
Tough. Like, Domantas Sabonis is nothing like Arvydas. I mean, Curry, end, but right? Most players really do not remind you of their fathers, if you think about it. Yeah, certainly Clay and Michael. It's also, how can the body types be so different?
Yeah.
Like Clay and Michael, and because Clay's mom is pretty tall too, right? And he got nowhere near Michael's height. Arvydas Sabonis was just a once in a lifetime. That guy was huge. One of the greatest feats of physical strength I've ever seen. I was sitting on the baseline at the Forum one day, and Shaq went up for a rebound with one hand, and with the other hand, like shoved Arvydas Sabonis out to the free throw line. Like it was unbelievable.
Well, that's why we wanted you to be on the pod today. Is there's a lot going on in the NBA right now. Actually, before we even asked you, or after we asked you, I think the Chicago Bulls cleaned house. So, like, I want to ask you about that. While we're here on that topic, is like, has any organization fumbled their dynastic? Like the Chicago Bulls, like had an amazing peak for a decade, and then just kind of lost all of their aura for the next 3 decades. I mean, there's the Derrick Rose part of it, but can you remember someone or a team, an organization dominating an entire decade and then becoming largely irrelevant for the next 3 decades, with the exception of the Derrick Rose run?
Not to that extreme, right? I mean, the Miami Marlins, the Florida Marlins, did pretty well, pretty fast in the 90s, right? And then feels like we haven't heard from them since. But they weren't as high as the Bulls got, right? And then that's the thing, is that the Bulls, it crashed so, I mean, after the Last Dance year, to just go from nothing. And then to slowly build up. So if I were going to chart a path for the future, we kind of forget how well they did when John Paxson was making the picks. And they got good relatively quickly. I mean, if you look at the 2000s, and they are, we forget in 2011, they had the best record in the Eastern Conference. That's the first year of the Heatles down in Miami. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they win game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were 3 games away from the NBA Finals and from beating the LeBron James-led Miami Heat. And that's as good as it got. They didn't win a game the rest of the series. And then the next year, Derrick Rose got hurt. And that was that. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, you talk dynastic, and then we're actually thinking of doing one like non-dynastic or alt-dynastic or something, like the teams that could have been. Maybe those
revolving doors,
early 2000s Sacramento Kings, right?
Or sliding doors. That's what they call it, right?
Yeah.
Sliding doors.
If Robert Horry doesn't make that shot, and maybe the Kings win a couple, right?
Well, Jay, they got the Trailblazers documentary coming out on Netflix soon, but that's one of the biggest sliding doors I always think about is if the Lakers lose Game 7 at home to the Blazers, not only does it, obviously you start to question the Shaq and Kobe pairing, given all the other stuff that was happening in the background, but also you think about the massive impact it had on roster construction. If the Blazers were like, that was unheard of. It was like, hey, we're going to have, instead of having one bona fide star, we're going to have 8 guys that are all really good and kind of, in a weird way, like another Rasheed Wallace team, like the predecessor of the Pistons in 2004.
Right.
Like this idea like, hey, our roster's just deep and we just mix and match and we play this chess game out there with matchups rather than having like the 2 big players and everybody else supports them. And if the Blazers win that year, first of all, what does that do for how the league looks at guys like Rasheed Wallace and Dave Stoudemire and Bonzi Wells? But then what does that
and the legacy of Scottie Pippen, right? He gets a championship post Michael Jordan.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, he's got one more championship than Michael Jordan. He's got Michael at least 7 to 6. Maybe they go back to back. Who knows?
Listen to this roster. We did this in a game this year. It's Sheed, Scotty, Steve Smith, Damon Stoudemire, Arvydas Sabonis, Detlef, Brian Grant, Greg Anthony, Bonzi Wells, Jermaine O'Neal coming off the bench.
He didn't play. That's the J.O. didn't play.
But that's the thing. It's. I mean, Arvydas' entire NBA career was too late, right? We didn't get the real best version of him. So, and it's probably too late for Scotty. He's got back issues by then, right? It's certainly not the Scotty of 1994. We're almost a decade past that. It's too early for Jermaine O'Neal. We saw what he became in Indiana. So it might be an issue of time. Maybe it's too early for Rasheed, even though he'd been in the league since about 4 or 5 years by then. But this wasn't the version of Rasheed that the Detroit Pistons got, right? A more mature, settled down version of Rasheed. So, yeah, it's one of those things, hearing all those names, but just realizing, okay, what were all those guys in 2000? Some weren't what they would be. Some were already past what they would be. Like I always say, no franchise ever got more out of greater or ever got less out of greater names than the original Washington Bullets, as they were called. I mean, a roster that had Michael Jordan, a franchise that had Michael Jordan, Moses Malone, Bernard King, all these Hall of Famers who combined, I don't think, won a single playoff game for that franchise.
They got them all after the expiry date. Though.
Right.
But Russell Westbrook, yeah.
On the surface, I forgot that Russell, like another Hall of Famer, MVP, like all these MVPs, just on the surface, I can tell you a franchise had all those players, and you say, what? They didn't win a playoff game?
Alt dynastic, yeah, for sure.
Alt dynastic, yeah. It's fascinating, yeah. That 2000. I mean, the Lakers. I always say that was the difference between 3 championships and none, because I think they give it one more year after that, and then maybe the Blazers, emboldened by what they've done, beat them or just kind of hold it down, and then it's all right. We gave this Kobe and Shaq thing 6-7 years, and it just didn't work out. So we're going a different direction. But they come back, they win that game, and boom, next thing you know, it's a three-peat. But back to the Bulls real quick, the way that team was built, and remember, this is in the era of the one and dones, or I'm sorry, the high school players are starting to come to the forefront, and they would go with guys like Kirk Heinrich and Joakim Noah. If you looked at all the guys they drafted, like they went to Final Fours, and they weren't superstars, but they were just solid players, like the kind of guys that were on this UConn team that made it to the championship game, and just solid guys, Reed and Caravan, and not superstars. But when they're introducing the teams, I was thinking, man, that's a lot of seniors. It was like 3 seniors and 2 juniors, I think. And then the freshman was the coldest of them all, right? Mullins, who has hit 2 of the biggest shots in the tournament. And so I think, I don't know, Tom, where do you stand on the NCAA tournament as a predictor, as a useful tool for what happens in NBA? I don't know if you run numbers on it or anything. I've talked, different NBA executives I've talked with have different perspectives. Some think, oh, you're not going to learn anything about a guy in 2 or 3 games that you couldn't learn in the 30 games prior to that. But I think you learn a lot by how guys play in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it's mixed results. There's not like a clear one way or the other, because for every Kemba, who I think you could argue Kemba had an excellent NBA career, and made a run. But then there's also the Shabazz Napiers of the world where LeBron James is tweeting out, hey, I love this kid. Amazing run. You got to draft him. And then doesn't really become much in the league. Like, I'm watching Donovan Clingan every night, and you win 2 national championships, and the way he plays and the way you can coach him, I don't know if it says more about Dan Hurley than it does Donovan Clingan or just these guys who make deep playoff runs. I don't know. I mean, I would say it's probably matters less now because there's so much noise in college basketball with these rosters that I felt like it might have mattered more back in the day.
Yeah, Tom, it's funny because we always thought, like, if you didn't exhibit it during your career and you just had a good March, a good couple of weeks in March, we didn't put too much stock in it. That's how guys like Patrick O'Brien got drafted in the top 10. Like, he wasn't a good player. If you watched him, you would know he wasn't a good player, but he had a good March. He had a pretty impactful March, and people get excited. What we found oftentimes is more likely than not is that your coaches would be very excited about a prospect because they're not watching any of them, but everyone kind of tunes in during March. And so the coach is like, oh, my God, this guy's a great player. How are you guys not talking about him? It's like, well, because he stinks or because he's just not good enough, but he had a really good couple of weeks in March, which happened to coincide with the ones that you watched. And by the way, the opposite. We had guys that were telling us that James Harden, not an NBA player because of how he played in March. When it's like, well, if you watched 2 years of him in a regular season with Arizona State, you're like, this guy's like this, he's like a LeBron, basically. The ball's in his hands the whole time. He's orchestrating everything. He took a pretty struggling program and made them into a Pac-10 powerhouse. So it's like the March Madness always is more of a thorn than it is kind of like a predictor. Because at the end of the day, man, like the way you play basketball is the way you play basketball, not the way you play basketball like on a Thursday and a Saturday.
You know who was really impressive in NCAA tournament and really made a name for himself and went on to have a really good NBA career? Stephen Curry. Okay, let's go back to Davidson and Stephen Curry. And you might have said, oh, you know, is he Bryce Drew? Is he Ali Farouk Manesh? No, he turned out to be Stephen Curry, son of Dell.
But you just put my point, Jay, because he was fucking amazing in the regular season. You know, and that's a guy that we had tracked since he was a freshman. I think his freshman year he had a breakout game. I want to say it was against Duke. But it was just kind of like oh shit, like Dell's son can actually play. And then we started tracking him. In his freshman year, he was good, like better than people thought. His sophomore year, he was amazing. That was probably his best year. And then his junior year, because the point guard was Jason Richards, I want to say. He had graduated the year before. So now Steph got to play point as opposed to 2 guard. And that was the year when my man at UMB, was it UMBC or Towson or one of those Maryland area schools, was like, oh, what we're going to do is we're going to just go double team Steph at all times whether he has the ball or not. He scored 0 points in that game, and Davidson won by like 40, right? Because it was like, that was the first like demonstration that this guy didn't even need to touch the ball.
The Steph Curry gravity.
This shit is real, right? So, but like Steph is like an excellent example of, yes, he had a great March and that's amazing, but he was amazing for like the better part of 2.5 regular seasons, so that what we saw in March wasn't a leap. It wasn't like, oh my God, I didn't know you could play.
But how much stock could you put in his regular season performances when he was, I don't even know what conference Davidson plays in, right?
SoCon.
It wasn't exactly the ACC or the Big East, right? So it's funny. I got on a rental car shuttle bus at Oakland one time, and the guy on the shuttle recognized me, and he told me he had either played with or against Steph Curry in college. And I'm thinking, Steph Curry was playing against dudes that are now riding the rental car shuttle bus with me, that aren't taking the NBA charters. That's the type of competition he played against. It just made me think okay, it's crazy that Steph Curry was playing against guys like this guy here. And now he's, serving up all the best players in the NBA.
So I got his stats in front of me. So he was 21.5 points a game his freshman year, 25.9 his sophomore year. He was a second-team All-American, 28.6 his junior year. He was a first-team All-American. And I got his game logs here. I'll tell you the exact game that put him on the radar. It was at Michigan. Okay. They lost 78-68, but he was 12 of 25 from the field.
Who's on that Michigan squad?
Yeah, that Michigan team had Courtney Sims and Epe Udo and Deion Harris and Brett Petway.
So not exactly the Fab Five.
My point is, he played well his freshman year against reasonably good talent, right? And then sophomore year was the breakout year, and that year they were playing good teams. So I got his sophomore year. They played North Carolina. They lost by 4. They played Duke. They lost by 6. They played UCLA. They lost by 12. They played at NC State. Lost by 1. Who else? And then obviously
man, that was a loaded schedule.
Yeah.
Well, that's my point. We were like, oh no, this guy's real. Whenever he plays against quote unquote real, yes, he beat up on College of Charleston and Wolford in conference play. That's obvious. But when they played the big boys, that dude didn't look out of place. He held his own, and he had, again, Davidson in the conversation in these games. They weren't getting destroyed. They were actually we had a chance to win these games. And so, like I said, when you see what he did in March in his sophomore year and his junior year to a lesser extent, it wasn't as big of a leap as Ali Farouk-Manesh, who had an amazing, what do you call it, little run with, was it Northern Iowa or whatever? Yeah, or some of these other guys. You tend to see or I'll give you another example of someone who didn't have March success, but was turned out to be a decent NBA player, Rodney Stuckey. Rodney Stuckey, if you looked at him during his regular seasons at Eastern Washington or whatever it was, he was pretty good, and they were playing good teams, and he played well against them. They didn't have a good March, or I don't even think they won their conference, to be honest with you. But it's this guy's a player. The opposite is the one you can never find me. You can never find me, again, Patrick O'Brien, where I was a mediocre college basketball player, regardless of my conference, but I had a hell of a March, and guess what? Turns out I'm pretty good. That's the one that you'll never find.
I remember this was a couple years ago when Marquise Noel had this incredible run with Kansas State in the tournament. He was dropping 30, he had 15 assists, and all the pundits were saying, "You can't tell me this guy's not an NBA player." You show up in the conference tournament and you're playing in the NCAA tournament, you make this run and you're dropping 30 and 15 in the tournament. And all the NBA guys were like, he's 5'7", he's tiny. I just don't see how he's going to be able to level up. And sure enough, he played one game in the league. And so it is two different things. Yeah, and you can have
Tom, but you know the other part of that equation is his best year, he averaged 17 points a game and shot 35% from 3 and 39% from the field. That's my point. It's if you can't do it on a regular basis in college, regardless of your level, chances are you're not going to be able to do it on the NBA level.
I am looking right now at a photo of Amin and Jay Adande at the NBA Finals 2016. We're on the floor with Jade.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a decade.
Was I putting nails in Cleveland's coffin? I'm pretty sure I was.
So June 11th at midnight. So the game was on June 10th, this one that I'm looking at. And J.A. was the first one to
put nails in the coffin. That was me and Zach Lowe. And we were on the floor after game 4. That's the one they go up 3-1.
That's game 4. That was game 4.
We were recording our True Hoop TV. Were you there? I know Zach Lowe was on there with me. And
it was McMenamin, you, and Zach. It was the three
and
this
we're like,
pod.
oh, this is over.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't know at the time, so we hadn't seen the video of Draymond punching LeBron in the balls, and so that's going all around on social media. We're sitting here recording. We have no idea that this is going to be a suspension, right? Like it's funny because I don't think they had maybe shown it on the broadcast or something. It's weird. It didn't, or maybe we didn't have monitors up at the media center.
That's
we didn't
way
see
more
it.
likely.
We weren't aware of it, right? And so we go on and record this thing. We're like, oh, this is done. We're not coming back here. Only to find out like overnight or the next day that, Draymond did this. Yeah, he's probably going to be suspended. We're probably at the very least coming back here.
He ended up getting suspended for a flagrant foul accumulation. It wasn't even the act itself wouldn't have gotten him suspended, except he had accumulated flagrant fouls throughout those playoffs that were just all these meaningless, stupid things where he's
so
like
another moment
people.
Going back. So remember, the league kind of went soft on him when he was doing all those kicks to the nuts in the OKC series.
Yep.
And they thought, they should have ejected him or suspended him then, but instead they just, I think, retroactively gave him a flagrant or something, and it added to so he would have been better off just getting the suspension and not getting the flagrant foul points, because then he would have been suspended for that pivotal Game 5 in the finals. So it's funny, be careful what you ask for. And then the game that he would have been suspended for, which I think would have been Game 4 in Oklahoma City, they lost it anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you could go back in time, if I'm the Warriors, I'd be like, you know what? Knowing what I know now, if I could go back and just have whoever was out there, I don't know who's in charge of the punishments back then, but just say, hey, just suspend him this game, and then let's keep the flagrant foul counter lower. In case he does something crazy like hit LeBron in the balls during the NBA Finals.
Hello, listener. Producer Mays here to talk to you about the perfect gene. Allow me to be vulnerable here for a minute. As you may or may not know, I've got a lot of childhood trauma, and it almost entirely centers around buying pants. As a lifelong sufferer of tall man syndrome, I've never been able to find a pair of pants that fit in the store. I had to go to those special freak stores, places with more X's than an adult video store. It was a nightmare. But now, the perfect gene has entered my life. They've got 6 fits, a size range from 26 to 50-inch waists, and lengths up to 38, giving you 5,000 plus ways to find your perfect match. So it's not just for my fellow sufferers of TMS, that's tall man syndrome, but thick thigh kings can find their perfect jeans as well. And for a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectgene.nyc, or just Google The Perfect Gene and use code DINGS15 for 15% off. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectgene.nyc with promo code DINGS15. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Fuck your khakis and get the perfect gene.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire. The lone wolf, who you thought was a good collaborator because you didn't have the right candidate insights. But once you hired them, it was all hoarding info, declining meetings, and howling at the full moon? But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can go deeper than just the resume to find you a perfect fit. By using insights from the LinkedIn network to give you a short list of best fit candidates. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
You know you need fiber for a healthy gut, but do you actually know how to get it? Quaker's been serving up fiber since 1877, with over 100 great-tasting, good source of fiber options to choose from. Whether you like old-fashioned oats, instant oatmeal, granola, or oatmeal squares, Quaker makes it delicious. So good. Get your fiber with Quaker. Shop Quaker's good source of fiber products at a store near you.
That's actually a great segue to Luka Doncic, who was suspended for a game because of his accumulation of technicals. And then now he's at risk of not being eligible for the 65-game rule because of that suspension. But he's going to go back and make an appeal. and he's going to try to make it back.
I love the fact that it's called the Extraordinary Circumstances Rule or something like that. What's the naming of it?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like capital letters, like Extraordinary Circumstances, capital E, capital C. Like this is a thing. Like it reminds me of like David Stern, Enormous Consequences. The lockout
That's right. It's the new EC.
An extraordinary circumstances grievance. And it's because
even better.
2 games because of the birth of his child.
What a great father, that he had the foresight to realize, I'm going to need this. I'm going to spend an extra couple days here and go over Slovenia. I like the idea that there's just NBA players now who are like, I'm going to take a couple days off for the birth of my child here, and then later use that as part of their grievance to get back into 65 game rule. But I wanted to ask you, Jay, because right now he is either in Spain or Germany. Europe was the report that he's going. Luka Doncic is going to get
Spain. My first guess would have been Germany, but I read Spain on ESPN.com.
Explain to people why your first guess would be Germany.
That would be the preferred destination of Kobe Bryant, who used to go over to Germany and get that platelet replacement therapy.
Platelet replacement surgery. Yeah.
So they take your blood out, spin it in a centrifuge. I like the usage of centrifuge. I've been binging James Bond movies lately, trying to catch them all before they go off Netflix. And like, remember there's that one where Roger Moore's James Bond is like spun around in the centrifuge and they speed it up. Like I like the notion of Kobe's blood like spinning around in a centrifuge. Probably not as dramatic as we see in the movies, right?
Yeah.
Centrifuge,
but then they reinsert it.
A comeback with Project Hail Mary, big centrifuge movie. He's using a centrifuge. They use it to establish gravity.
You had me a centrifuge. Mm-hmm. That's all I need to know.
Project
Ryan
Centrifuge.
Gosling, okay, yeah, sure, that's cool. Ryan Gosling, yeah. They got a centrifuge in it? Oh, yeah, you're getting my $20. But, it spins, it separates, right? It would separate the platelets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then they re-inject them into the knee and it supposedly spurs a faster recovery. Kobe swore by it. So can you do something similar with the hamstring? Is it about blood flow? Like, I don't know what the hamstring treatment or how you speed it up, right? That's what's curious to me.
The PRP, the platelet-rich plasma, aids in healing faster. So if I inject this super concentrated blood that has a lot of platelets, rich with platelets, that's going to make the hamstring fibers reattach or whatever. Because I was reading Jeff Stott talk about this. Grade 2 means there is a tear. There has been tearing of the fibers or whatever.
Everything is a tear. That's one of the great misnomers, is that a strain, for example, is a tear. Some people say, "Oh, he didn't tear it; he just strained it." No, if it's a strain, it's a tear.
So grade one is basically it's been stretched to the point of almost tearing, but has not torn yet. Right? Grade 2 is partial tearing. So part of these things that have been stretched have now started to tear apart. Grade 3 is rupture. It's just it's no longer connected together, or as we like to call that, the Michelle Beadle, which during the 2016 finals ruptured her hamstring playing tennis. Playing tennis 2-on-1 , by the way. She was on the team with 2.
Oh no!
How do you tear your hamstring?
Wow.
Well, you got that
when you're playing doubles on a single.
Gotta stretch out. So, where do you want to go with this? Is it time to revisit the 65 game rule? Is that the thinking? I like that we're getting like a formal challenge to it. Sort of like how if you want to change a law, you got to file a lawsuit and hope it gets to the Supreme Court or something. So I like that we're seeing this extraordinary circumstances put to the use and put to the test, and invoked. They invoked this. What a great combination of words. They invoked the extraordinary circumstances grievance. What a great string of words. So I'm in on this story just for the fact that those words are involved. Invocation, grievance, extraordinary. Those are all great words.
Centrifuge. Throw that in there.
Centrifuge.
Why not? I think Cade Cunningham should file one too. Why not?
What are his extraordinary circumstances?
Someone
lung
kicked him in the
collapsed.
lung.
Yeah, where is the line getting drawn, guys? You know, what is ordinary and what's extraordinary?
Yeah.
File a grievance. What are you going to lose?
These things happen. Getting kicked in the lung, these things happen. You know, the miracle of childbirth is not something that we should just summarily dismiss and just not take these things into account when we're considering giving awards. So, especially when there's money at stake, right? That's the thing too. Are we gonna? And I don't know if this comes into play for Luka. If there's, he already signed his extension, right? But like,
no, Nico Harrison already took his money away when he traded him before he could get the Supermax.
So I mean, but we can see a scenario like, what if this comes up again? It's important to establish a precedent, right? Yeah. So what if there's someone who's got a Supermax pending on inclusion on a All-NBA team, and he misses game 65 or he misses what would be his 65th game because there's a child born or something like that, right? So also, are we seeing it's funny, it's there to address a problem which seems like it's gone away. Like have we seen just excessive load management this year to the point that it's been detrimental? Like it feels like all the sitting outs has been pretty justified, right? Like we're not going to penalize Jason Tatum for not playing back-to-backs when he's coming back from a torn Achilles, 10 months ago, right? So the rule is designed to prevent a certain thing that it doesn't feel like is happening too much anymore in this season, and it could potentially cost people millions of dollars.
Yeah, we talked about this, Zach Harper and I, on the radio, where it's like we were back at least 15 years. So like the load management era, if we're going to call it that, basically since 2011. The number of players who played less than 65 games and made all NBA superlative teams, either all defense, I want to say it was 15. Like it was just
pretty
about
substantial.
Over 15 years?
Yeah.
That's like
one a season.
One a year. And by the way, the names are all like, it's LeBron James, it's Steph Curry, it's Kevin Durant. It's like everyone that's like, yeah, I can understand why we would vote for that guy to be all NBA despite having played 57 games. By the way, none of them had played anything remotely ridiculous like 40 or anything like that. It just isn't, it was not, even at the height of load management where it wasn't sincere, if we were to believe that, it wasn't an issue.
Like let me ask you this, voting, though. I mean, though, like here's the thing. Yes, load management, and Jay, I'd love your thoughts on this. We're not hearing load management as a phrase as much this year, but we're missing 40 games for the Stars now. So, like, on one hand, it's a PR issue that I think Adam Silver said in his press conference. Like, I think the 65-game rule is a success. We're going to keep it because I don't think you hear the phrase load management anymore. And I'm sitting here being like, well, that's because they're all hurt, Right. They're all missing a lot of games. So why are they doing these load management games? To not get hurt.
They were hurt before. Kawhi Leonard wasn't not playing because he didn't feel like playing. Kawhi Leonard was hurt. Like the irony of the birth of load management was 2019. The Raptors had this whole program. Kawhi plays the game, and they figured it out, right? And they got him to be healthy enough in the playoffs to make their run and win the championship. It wasn't a choice like, Kawhi, you feel like playing today? Nah. It was, the guy's hurt. We've got to figure out how to ration what little we have of him. And by the way, the rationing that they did, they needed every last drop because that sucker was dragging his leg in the conference finals. Couldn't jump over a phone book playing against the Bucks. He's doing all this flat-footed. So it's like, yeah, we're not hearing about it because now people are accepting, oh, these guys are actually hurt. Whereas before, a guy was hurt and they're like, he just don't want to play, which goes back to my whole thing.
I mean, the phrase started with Kawhi then, right? But we associated with Kawhi, but really the policy started with the Spurs before that. Yep. Yes. They were just using cute names like Greg Popovich would list it, Tim Duncan, DMP, old, right? So we were, we were laughing about it, but they were, or you would just sit guys, remember he just sat Tony Parker for like a couple weeks one time, just like, hey, Tony. And that was one of his younger players, right? It wasn't like one of his old veteran guys, but he just said, hey, I think our guys need a rest. It's the regular season. It doesn't matter that much. We're here for the long haul. So they would do it. And remember, a lot of it came down, Tom, you might have covered that game in Miami, right? When they just sat everyone, and that just felt like when it all came to a head, national TV game.
What gets lost to history is it wasn't just they sat him, they sent him home.
They flew him. They didn't come to the game. They flew to San Antonio.
They didn't even come to the game, which I think if they had just sat on the bench and just in street clothes, it wouldn't have been a story. It wouldn't have been the suspension or the fine, I should say. I don't think it catches fire in the same way if Greg Popovich just said, you know what, take the game off. We're going to list you with an injury, and you're just going to sit for this national TV game.
But I'm going to tell you the other part of this. I remember when they were doing all this stuff, the cutesy stuff that you're mentioning, Jay. And I said, on air, it's cool because they're the only ones who do it. Everyone's like, oh my God, the Spurs are so smart. The Spurs are so smart. Everyone's dumb. You're running your players into the ground. Meanwhile, the Spurs are keeping their guys, and they're going to be fresh for the playoffs. And I said, it's smart because it relies on basically them breaking the honor code and nobody else breaking it. I compared it to being in the dorms, and everyone's been in a situation. Someone says, hey, I'm ordering pizza. Who wants in? Put in $5. We're getting a bunch of pizzas. And then they order the pizzas. Pizzas come, and they're collecting the money. And what somebody says, I ain't got it. But they're still eating pizza. Now, you might say, wow, what a genius. He's getting free pizza where everybody else, all these dummies are paying money. This guy figured out how to get free pizza. But what happens when everybody in the dorm pulls the same trick? We order the pizza. None of us got no money. And now we're like, oh, I get to eat pizza for free. No, what happens is the pizza place says, to hell with you. You're not getting this pizza, and now you're in trouble. Now we're starving, and that's what happened to our league. When everyone started saying, "I ain't got it, but I still want some of this national TV money. I still want all of the benefits of being part of this club without paying my dues," well, all of a sudden we don't have any basically opportunity for any of these benefits to happen, and so now we got to come up with all these cockamamie rules. But the original sin was, it wasn't even that to allow load management to be a term and to lose the PR battle on that. It starts earlier. That starts with what Jay is talking about, because it starts with the Spurs doing this and everyone saying, what a brilliant strategy. That's where it starts.
Or so funny. DMT old. That's pop.
Yeah. Yep.
So here's the thing. If we're going to entrust the media to determine these award winners, right, and to choose and at their discretion, how about we entrust them to determine when the load managing is egregious or when it is justified? And so we're saying, and there's not a fixed number, right? It's just up to the discretion. Just like there's no set determination of what constitutes the most valuable player. Right?
Couldn't agree more.
It's up to the discretion of each and every voter how they value, including, did this person play enough games? So maybe we just say, all right, this person only appeared in 60 games, but I thought they did enough to merit inclusion on an all-NBA team. Or maybe this person played in 72 games, but I felt like they took nights off that they really didn't need to take off. And so they sort of, in the spirit of the game was violated. This person way back when would have played 82, but they played the third game in 5 nights and he said, just can't do it. Like that. That's not what a all NBA guy does to me. Right. So now it's not an arbitrary. I'm not saying 65 is arbitrary, but it seems kind of arbitrary. Now it's not this imposed threshold, but it's left up to whether or not you think this person merits it, regardless of how many games they played, or maybe somebody played more games, but you felt offended that maybe they ducked out. Like maybe you felt like when Embiid didn't play against Jokic, right?
Yeah.
Remember that issue? And you thought, what? He played 70 games this year, but I ain't with that. And it's your vote. and it should be your determination.
What do you say as the director of sports journalism at the Northwestern School in Medill? Where do you think is the most hot button issue?
At Northwestern.
Yeah, sorry, excuse me. University of Wake Forest. Yeah, you can call it that if you want. What is like the most hot button sports media issue that you feel like your students need to pay attention to? Like, this is a pretty big one in the NBA circles, but I'm not so sure it's the most hot button issue. But
I mean, to me, right now, you got to fear consolidation, right? And to students care about jobs, and you look at if CBS and Turner Sports merge, and what does that do? How many jobs is that going to cost? This NFL Network ESPN merger, right? What is that going to do for opportunities? Who knows what happens with the state of the regional sports networks? So, there's talk like in baseball, maybe just everything goes through a streaming package and you watch the local games through part of the national MLB streaming package. But that's fewer jobs than if you had all these different regional sports networks, right? So I'd say looking at the state of the industry, it's about consolidation. Something else I would say is access, right? Is there going to be continued to limited access? But then there's the own industry imposed denials of just not traveling with teams. So I thought it was interesting. The Big Ten tournament was here in Chicago. Maryland wins their first game. The only person there covering Maryland is I think the student radio reporter. And I'm thinking, wow, it's weird. Maryland's here and the Washington Post doesn't have a beat writer on Maryland. But then I was told even before they axed the sports section, Washington Post wasn't traveling with Maryland basketball anymore, which is unfathomable. There's a lot of things unfathomable from my days. But when I was there, my colleague David Nakamura was covering, they had the number 1 draft pick in Joe Smith. And so Maryland basketball, the thought of not traveling with Maryland basketball. But how many teams don't have people traveling, by the choice of the news outlet, right? That's not paying for people to travel. And then if you do travel, though, what kind of access do you have? The big thing in the NBA, right, guys, is just how rarely you see these guys. I give credit the Lakers. Like, you see LeBron all the time, right? You're like, LeBron talk over the entirety of his career. Let's give a shout out to LeBron for how generally widely available he has been
in Miami. Every single availability, he was there. Yep.
Also, aren't we talking about a different era? Like we got LeBron was raised when we were still doing it the old school way, because Kobe was very available.
And it's funny because there was a difference between LeBron and Kobe, because Kobe still recognized the value of having one of his beat guys. He realized he needed somebody at the LA Times at all time, right?
Why
the LA Times was the dominant, just because that was the dominant, local media outlet.
Yep.
And so if you wanted to be loved in LA, you better have your voice in LA. You better be able to get your side. And what was funny was that alternately between me, Bill Plaschke, and TJ Simers, it would just kind of rotate. It's at some point, TJ would be in and I'd be out. At another point, he got mad at TJ and now I was in. But what he realized, and it wasn't even about any of us, right? It was just him realizing I need somebody at the LA Times that I can call if I have something I need to get out there. I need someone, or that I need to pull aside. I need somebody at the LA Times. LeBron didn't have that at the Cleveland Plain Dealer. He's actually been pretty good with Brad Turner covering the Lakers now at the LA Times. He gave him a good thing right at the eve of the All-Star break about he just spent some time aside with Brad and just talked about his physical preparation process and what's that like to maintain, especially to keep him going all these years. And that was some good insight. But in Miami, right? He didn't have somebody at the Miami Herald. Tom, you were down there with him, right? He didn't feel the need to have his voice. So that was the difference between LeBron and Kobe, right? Recognizing I need a guy at the local major newspaper to just have as someone that I can go to and confide in.
Jay, what's a call that you got from Kobe that you'll always remember with a scoop or a big break or something he wanted to get out there that you were like?
Well, it wasn't that he wanted to get out. He was seeking information. I'll never forget. I was driving. I was just about to park at the LA Times. And Kobe was furious about, oh man, it was something Mark Heisler wrote, and he quoted somebody it was something alluding to the fact that I think that like Kobe wanted Shaq out, or like, you know, he gave like the Lakers an ultimatum, me or him, is something to that effect, something around that, right? Not, I don't want to state specifically what it was. And I never forget, he called me. He was like, "Who said this? Who said it?" I'm like, "Kobe, A, I don't know. B, if I didn't know, I'm not going to tell you. Like, I'm not in the business of revealing anonymous sources to people." And so he got frustrated and moved on. But it's not like he called me a lot. It was weird. There was like 1 year where he gave me his number. I didn't have his number. Like most of the people on the beat didn't have his number for a long time. And then again, when it was kind of my turn and I was like next up in the queue to like, all right, he's going to be my LA Times guy for now. And we were talking and he gave me his number. He's like, "Call me, you know what you said." So I was sitting around one time and I was like, "I'll call Kobe." And we talking, it was weird. It was like really awkward. You know, he still was like, hadn't developed. It reminded me of when I was like in 8th grade and like I first started calling girls and trying to talk to girls on the phone and like just wasn't very good. It took me back to that. But then,
so big game last night, huh?
Yeah. "Hey, Kobe, how's it going?" But it got better. I remember actually a time I called him. Remember he got suspended because he kept elbowing people on the follow through of his jump shot. And so he was suspended for a game and they're on the road. So I'm like, all right, he can't go to the arena. He's just got to be sitting around the hotel. I'm going to call him. So like I talked to him during the game. It was kind of a preview. Remember that time he live tweeted a game that he was injured? Might have been a playoff game even. And he was live tweeting. So it's kind of like that, just kind of getting them thoughts in real time during the game. And it's funny. I was thinking of what to write and I was like, can't go wrong with a headline on Kobe Bryant, right? And also, little behind the scenes, that was when I was kind of in the talking process with ESPN. And, you know, one of the reasons that they brought me on was that they wanted, you know, somebody on the West Coast who could cover Kobe and talk to Kobe. So I was like, let me put this out there too, just to show him what that was kind of the peak of my relationship with Kobe. Also, it might have been, I don't think it was that game. I actually, you know what? I called him. I was writing my last call. I was writing my farewell column. So, you know, the ESPN thing was coming to fruition. And I called Kobe because that's when he was doing that thing where he was like, "I want to be traded." And he was going on kind of that tour. You know, they lost to the Suns in the first round. And so I actually called, he kind of hijacked my farewell column because I had like, it was the story, the big story. Like the big story wasn't me leaving the LA Times, right? The big story was Kobe Bryant going to be leaving the Lakers. So I didn't want to like ignore the big story just to say, "Hey, goodbye, everybody." So I wound up like half the column is my farewell and half of the column is Kobe talking about where things stood. He was kind of vacillating back then. So I think the day I talked to him, it was like, "No, I want to be here." And then I think the next week, like, is when he went on Stephen A. Smith's radio show and was like, "I want out." But, you know, on that day, the message he wanted to put out was, "No, I want to stay here." So yeah, if you read my farewell column, like half of it is Kobe, you know, and getting caught up in that situation.
Adobe Acrobat, your new foundation. Use PDF spaces to generate a presentation. Grab your docs, your permits, your moves. AI levels up your pitch, gets it in a groove. Choose a template with your timeless cool. Come on now, let's flex those tools. Draft, design, deliver, make it sing. AI builds the deck so you can build that thing. Do that with Acrobat.
Learn more at adobe.com/do-that-with-Acrobat.
Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. And Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teen accounts.
Hey, Hey, listener, it's Zach Harper, Amin Elhassan, and Anthony Mays of Cinephobe. You may be asking yourself, what is Cinephobe? Amin, would you like to fill in the people?
Cinephobe is the podcast where Zach and I watch movies that are poorly rated on Rotten Tomatoes and try to ascertain.
We're trying to ascertain?
Yes.
Okay. Ascertain.
Whether or not they're actually poorly rated, or maybe they didn't get a fair shake. Cinephobe, produced by this guy, Anthony Mays.
Hey, that's me. I produced this show. I also watch the movies, even though that wasn't included in the description, and I also ascertain. This month is... Whoa! Oh, Maze, why'd you say that? Supercharge it so that this promo can remain evergreen.
I feel like explaining a little bit more.
In 60 seconds?
I don't know. Maybe I don't bring attention to it. Assuring people like, look, if you listen, you're going to get it. Just give it time.
That's a good promo. Just listen to it.
Give it time.
You'll figure it out.
Is this the promo right now?
Isn't it?
Okay, I think we got it.
Cinephobe.
Wherever you get podcasts.
One thing I want to get into, we were talking about the Spurs. I want to get into what I think is the central premise, the overarching question about the league right now. And that is, how soon until Victor Wembanyama turns the NBA into the WemByA?
Wow. Look at that.
Oh, look at those groans.
That's guy's a writer, guys.
There's your headline.
I thought they didn't write the headlines. Wow.
You guys got to watch the video of this just to see the strained expressions that go along with those groans there. But this is what is at stake. This is what I'm looking for. How soon until it becomes the WemByA? Because at some point, he's going to make that declaration that henceforth, this is the WemByA. It's my league. And I don't know about you. I don't think it's happening this year. That Denver game was an eye-opener.
Well, J.A.,
last weekend.
Wemby is another guy who might have to file an extraordinary circumstances grievance because Monday he left the game with a rib contusion. And let's get real technical, okay? So you get 2 exceptions to playing 20 minutes a game as long as they play at least 15 minutes, and he played 15 minutes and 40 seconds. So Monday's game counts. You know what else counts? The NBA Cup final.
Yes.
Which, although the statistics don't count, and it's not a real game.
It does count to the 65, right?
It counts for the 65. So even though he has 63 games played on his official stat keeping for the year, he's at 64, and he has to play 20 minutes in one of his last 3 games in order to qualify. Otherwise, he will have to file an extraordinary circumstances grievance.
Did you have to get a degree in accounting in order to cover the NBA? It feels like you do now.
Well, just the semantics, right? The fact that the NBA Cup doesn't count for the stats. So, like, that doesn't count. So theoretically, because, so the Knicks played in the finals, right? So let's say OKC had played, and you know that Shea would have scored 20 plus, right? Because that's what he does, but it wouldn't have counted in the streak.
Toward the streak. No, it wouldn't have.
So now, could you imagine years from now, somebody approaches the streak and like, well, they would. So I just hate the semantics of it, that the stats don't count, but I guess now, is that incentive to get people to play or to keep the cup serious? Like how did that, I'd like to see the negotiations that we're going to say, we're going to count this toward the 65.
I'll tell you exactly why. Because if you count it statistically, that means there are players who play 83 games, which means they're playing above and beyond what they're contracted to play, which is 82 regular season games and however many playoff games, which means you would need to redo the math and pay them extra.
You need to do the collective bargaining agreement, right?
Yeah. This goes into the CBA. Versus the 65-game rule, they didn't want, so that was basically negotiated in. Like, hey, if we're going to have the 65-game rule, which, by the way, everyone should remember, should be pointed out, the Players Association agreed to this.
It is wild.
This was something that was collectively bargained, and the union agreed to it. So it just makes it just extra interesting and amusing to me for them to be like, Kate Cunningham, this rule is dumb. I'm like, you guys are the ones that did it. You went along with this.
Well, I mean, you have to wonder, though, if there was a financial incentive. Like the NBA said, okay, we'll give you this if you do that. Because remember, that's why when the NBA agreed to the to not allowing players to come directly from high school, and when the Players Association agreed to that, it wasn't something that affected the union membership, right? Like these people in high school and college. They're not members of our union, so who cares what happens to them? B, that was a very prosperous time overall. So the league wasn't really pressing for any major economic changes, right? So in order to I always say maintaining the status quo is a win for the players. And that year, pretty much the economics stayed the same. But the NBA wanted to get rid of the high school players coming in, so they yielded to that. So maybe they said, hey, you like the way things are going now with the contracts and all that, your share of the BRI, basketball-related income and all that stuff, cool. You can keep that, but you got to give us on this. So I wonder if something similar, if there's a little thing here.
Jay, do you remember what it was? What the BRI split was at the time that they agreed to?
53 or something?
57%.
57, right.
Players were getting 57%. So when they say, hey, we want to keep these kids out for an extra year, like, give them, take them.
Yeah, and you can keep your 57%.
Yeah, yep. Amazing.
What? WemByA.
Yeah.
All right, we got to stay here.
WemByA.
Yeah, we got to stay here for a little bit longer here.
Are you spelling that WemByA, or is there still a Y between the...
WemByA.
Gotcha.
You got to get that ye in there, right? So the WemByA. It's coming, but I don't think 2026 will be the year.
When does Jay Adande believe that LeBron made that statement when he was taking over? Like, when is the WemByA moment for? What is the NBA moment for you?
Really the second championship. So 2012, 2013. Sorry, right?
Wow. So you think that LeBron hadn't quote unquote taken over as the face of the league, or
what he hadn't done was enter the conversation, because to me, if we're gonna talk about you as an all-time great, you got to win multiple, right? Not just one. Like, one allowed it. Okay, he erased that. You couldn't say he didn't have it. Right? He showed he had it. Although I was starting to get nervous when he started cramping up in Game 6. I'm like, oh my God, if they lose this game because LeBron is cramping up and they go on to blow this 3-1 lead, and this is just good. Oh, the takes are going to be up. So we avoided that. And then it's funny, I just rewatched that Game 6 ending again. I mean, through that extraordinary, that talk about sliding doors moments. Oh my God. But
wait.
Through
so
that,
do you just like sit back and watch like ESPN Classic essentially, like in your downtime? Like, was this part of your dynastic? Because I just love the idea that you're just going back in an old NBA film.
No, I watched this one I actually showed it to my class, because you know what I wrote about at the time. What's the kind of, yes, the Ray Allen shot, but what's the other kind of signature moment of that Game 6? Not even the signature moment.
With the rebound, they took Tim Duncan off the floor.
No, not just the rebound. That's part of it too. I mean,
LeBron coming back.
No, it's more of
an
esoteric aesthetic thing. You're close there with the lost headband.
Oh, the ropes. The
golden ropes. There you go.
Get the fucking ropes out of here, right?
Yeah.
That's the quote.
Which I didn't realize until just this rewatch. I didn't realize you can see Ray Allen saying that.
Yeah.
I also read the Lee Jenkins story when he went back and revisited. So he quotes Ray Allen saying, "Get those motherfucking ropes out of here." And watching the game again, knowing to look for that, I see it. You can see it. But I wanted to show my students, because that night I wrote about the rope, because you see them there. And then the crazy thing is, even in the watching the replay, like, you can't see when they left. All of a sudden they're just gone. Like, you get to the overtime and
no ropes.
It's funny because in real time there that night, I didn't see the ropes come out. When you watch TV, you can see them kind of come in and settle in. And actually, Van Gundy makes a reference to it, because at one point, Tim Duncan is going to inbound the ball with like 30 seconds left or something. And like, the ropes people are in the way. And Van Gundy is like, get the ropes out of here. Like, it's Miami. Nobody's going to run on the court here. So he noticed it. Van Gundy, by the way, his call of that, like everything, like including pointing out that Duncan wasn't there, that they take him out, that they might want to put him in for the rebound, et cetera. Like, Van Gundy was all over at that game, including commenting on the ropes. And then they went. So I showed it as a test to my students. Like, okay, what what do you notice here? Let's watch the last 20 seconds of regulation and the overtime. And of course, none of them caught it. Actually, one did because he'd read that Lee Jenkins story. But so I rewatched it just to pay attention to those things. And then I showed them their assignment for this week was to rewatch the ending of the Duke UConn game and see if anything stands out, like what little details that you didn't see in real time. So you know what I noticed? This bugged the hell out of me. I'm going to give it a preview. We talk about this in class tomorrow. So, like, it might have been Duke's last basket. Carlos Boozer goes inside and gets like a little mini hook shot. And one of the Duke reserves standing by the bench does a floor slap. You're not even in the game. And you're doing and I'm like, you know what? That sealed the defeat right there. You got a reserve doing a floor slap, some bench warmer that was not even close. He's literally at the end of the bench, like near the baseline. And he does a floor slap after Boozer makes a shot. Right there, you deserve to lose that game and to have this replayed in perpetuity for doing a floor slap on the sidelines on the bench, which I didn't notice. It's like with, 2.5 minutes left or something like that. Go watch that Boozer inside, maybe 3.5 minutes. And yeah, he does a floor slap. So that's something I didn't notice. I did notice the golden rope, the cord in real time though. But anyway, when they came back and won that game, back to the original premise, Tom, I thought that once LeBron had won back-to-back, which is something that, the great Spurs teams never did, right? And now he'd won multiple. I thought, okay, now we can talk. So that was, and he was a reigning 2-time champion, 2-time finals MVP, right? The league belonged to him at that point. It was WemByA, as many MVPs as he'd won and all that other stuff. So certainly he had it was his league in terms of the social media sense, right? The fact that all eyes were on him for the decision and things like that, right? But you can't sit at the table with Jordan and Magic and Kareem and all those people if you only got one ring. So once he had two, and then just the fact that, not at that moment, but that was year 3 of his 8-year run of going to the finals, wherever he happened to be, right? I mean, that's your era. If you go to the finals 8 straight years, winning 4 times, that is certainly the LeBron era. But I think we entered the era of WemByA when he won that second championship in 2013.
And he's still going, which is crazy. So what I'm
looking at.
So
whose league is it right now though? That's interesting. Like I'm not saying the face of the league, but I mean it's hard when we've had 7 different champions, right? So no one has grabbed it. It was, Shaq and Kobe were the duopoly for a while at the start of the 21st century. And, it was never the Spurs league. It's weird because for basically the entirety of Tim Duncan's career, like you started every year thinking they could win the championship. Like, was there one year when they had Tim Duncan when you thought they had no shot at all of winning a championship? It's pretty remarkable, right? They definitely went to the playoffs every year, but every year they went in, you thought like, they could win it, right? Some years more than others, but like they were never out of it. So that's pretty incredible, but it was never his league.
Wait, but I need to figure out the rubric here. So you're saying Wemby, even if he wins the title this year, he needs to win another one in order to qualify for your...
It's a different thing. Okay. Because we're already talking about again, the fact that he was the most influential player in the All-Star game, even if they didn't win, right? Everyone credited him with the tone of with kind of restoring the competitiveness to the All-Star game. And I think we can look at the format too, right? But when the MVP says, oh yeah, Wemby came out and we knew we had to play, right? Anthony Edwards said that. So if your influence, if everyone's responding to you at the All-Star game, that tells you something. If you can go and declare, I think I should be the MVP, and people are saying, he's right.
No one said like, oh my God, the audacity of him to say that he's the MVP. Everyone said he's got. It's funny. So that week on the NBA power rankings or whatever they call it, the ladder, the MVP ladder on NBA.com, Wemby was number one. And I texted Sean Powell, a great friend of mine for my whole career, who Sean wrote the article. I said, Sean, did Wemby's little speech influence you? And he said, yep.
I love it.
So guess what? That's power and influence, right? But it's not truly his if he doesn't win, right? So like, and also I think once he wins, and I'm not original in saying this, kind of once he gets over that hump, I think, if the health maintains, like just like I said earlier in the podcast, that game 7 of the conference finals was the difference between 0 and 3 championships for Kobe and Shaq. Like, I think once Wemby wins one, it's not just like once LeBron won one. It wasn't just one, right? There's that thing that gets
opens up
and switched, right? And so I think there will be an unlocking. But guess what? It's not there yet. He didn't win the gold medal at home in France. He didn't win for all that talk about the All-Star game, like he didn't even reach the finals of the All-Star game, right? And let's see him win a playoff series before
he didn't win.
We call it the
NBA Cup.
He did win the NBA Cup, didn't he?
No, he lost. They lost to the Knicks.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, it's funny because we gave them so much credit for being. It's funny. I thought of them as winning just because it was such a statement when they beat OKC.
Yeah.
So what's he won? Let's go real hot. Victor WemByA, what's he ever won?
You reminded me of one of my favorite NBA on NBC intros ever. And this might be my absolute favorite. It's the usual lilting music. Marv Albert on the call. He's doing the monologue, and he says,
the ultimate achievement in any sports career is to lead your team to the championship. Yet it is a plateau never reached by some of sports' greatest. O.J. Simpson, the first running back to break the 2,000-yard barrier. This one-man highlight film compiled 5 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Yet he never had a single moment in the Super Bowl. Ernie Banks, one of the greatest hitting shortstops of all time. Back-to-back MVPs. Mr. Cub would never be Mr. World Series. Bob Lanier battled all of the premier big men, from Willis Reed to Dave Cowens, Bill Russell to Wilt Chamberlain, but he never made the trip to the NBA Finals. And Michael Jordan, his visions of playing in the finals have yet to be seen. One of basketball's most remarkable players, the 7-time All-Star, is still in search of the greatest challenge of his career. Will this be the year that Michael Jordan reaches that ultimate goal? Today, it's Jordan and the Bulls facing the Cleveland Cavaliers.
And I'm like, oh shit, this is a Michael Jordan, what has he ever won intro? Because it was literally that first season of NBA on NBC, but it was a regular season.
When they wound up winning.
They ended up winning at the end of that year.
But until then,
in the moment is what has he ever won?
Well, that's the company he kept, though, right? Because he was in the conversation with Ernie Banks or, Willie McCovey from a West Coast guy, with the San Francisco Giants, right? He great players who had never won, right? And that's why he was breaking down in tears when he finally did win, because he never had to hear stuff like that again, right? Like that, and because so remember, it had been like 20 years since a player had led the league in scoring and won a championship. So not only was it Michael Jordan winning a championship, but also proving that you could win it his way, which was, I'm going to take all the shots. We hadn't seen a champion in that modern NBA at that time. Go back and look. I think it was the early 70s when the last time somebody led the league in scoring and won a championship that year. Like, because generally it was typically like if you needed one guy, if you relied on one guy to get such a high percentage of your points, it meant you didn't have a good team. You didn't have a championship team, right? And also, the Magic and Bird, which we were in that era, we're just the tail end of the Magic and Bird era, they shared the ball. They weren't high volume shooters or scorers, right? They were great team players. And I think it was Jack McCallum's story in Sports Illustrated kind of talked about that this is kind of the way of the NBA. And does Michael Jordan remember that conversation, right? I mean, Does he make his teammates better?
Yeah.
So, yeah, all of that. Like, that's why the tears came out, because Michael put all that stuff to bed when he scored. I'm sure WemByA will cry. And
he cried after a regular season win. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And it's funny. So here's the thing I want to see change from him, though. So the passion, the care is there, right? And we saw how much he hurt after losing the Olympic gold medal game to the U.S. when Curry just hit those dagger shots and he was hurt. What I want to see him get furious when he loses. The fury. That's another thing Michael Jordan had. And we're starting to forget about it because, we've got people who weren't there to see it firsthand. The fury, the rage in his eyes. Can you imagine a furious Victor Wembanyama with him playing with rage and anger? I mean, we've seen him, get an N1, furious anger. And I shall strike down upon thee. I want him doing the Samuel L. Jackson speech. What was it, Leviticus or Ezekiel?
Yeah.
Ezekiel?
25:17.
And I shall strike down upon thee.
And then he can get a Royale with cheese.
Furious anger. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay down my vengeance upon thee. That's the version of Victor Wembanyama I see. And I think first, after we see that, I think that will usher in the era of the WemByA. First, he needs to get mad, furious, and it's all there with him, but we just need that last little bit. So I want to build on the loser mentality. Let's start this with this podcast, right?
Yeah,
Victor Wembanyama is a loser. When is he ever going to win? Let's get him mad, because I want to see it. I want to live in the era of the WemByA. He's who why I say it's his league, he's the one I'm looking for, right? He's the one I'm checking. He's the one I'm tuning in to watch to see, because, he's going to amaze you, right? Like, part of the reason you're tuning in, this is similar when I called Allen Iverson at Georgetown, like, you're going to see something you never saw before, in all likelihood, or you're going to see something that just, your jaw drop in amazement, right? This guy's doing things that we've never seen before. So, when is that last step going to happen, though? When is he just going to finalize, put people away, win these things? And it's going to come. I think it's not ready to happen quite yet, but I'm eagerly awaiting the moment, the arrival of the WemByA.
This episode is brought to you by Stouffer's. Here comes 3-time juggling champion Natalia Rogers. She's juggling law school, her TA job. Oh, narrowly catches the laundry. What's that fourth ball? Parents unexpectedly showed up at dinner time? Is that too much for Natalia? Not with Stouffer's Chicken Alfredo and its mouth-watering mix of Asiago, Romano, and Parmesan. When you're juggling 4 things at once and the clock strikes dinner, think Stouffer's.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Jay, I'm looking at June 19th, 2013, 3:23 a.m. email string from Chris Ramsey, Game 6 budget final.
Wow.
So this is me, you. This is Henry
You still have that?
Windhurst. I have it in my email. Yeah. Jade is Gutierrez, Michael Wallace, Mark Stein, Arnovitz. We're all in the same chain.
Overkill.
Trying
All
to
those
figure
people
out
covered
who's
one
got
NBA
what
game.
story. You remember this, Jay, where we're all like in the middle of the game? It's
Well,
like,
it was easy because I know I had Spurs. Who had the Heat?
Yep.
Well, I guess all you guys on the Heat index, right?
Everybody else on that email.
I know. I wrote Spurs every game, so
you're the Western
my life
Conference
was
guy.
pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
in this
so does
email
it say
chain.
Adande, Golden Rope? What are the stories?
In this one, I think this one, maybe you had the next day. I think that was a sidebar, or maybe you had a sidebar the night of, but you're not a sidebar kind of, you're the main event. I think there was you said, I think one of the headlines here in this thread is Adande, Spurs were not who we thought they were, as a story idea for Game 6 post-mortem. But I don't know if that was, I'm not sure.
Well, the thought of that was that, and I did address that a little bit in my story, was that they were supposed to be the team that was poised and wouldn't fall apart in the pressure situations, right? We'd seen LeBron the year before. The Spurs advantage was, the Heat clearly had the talent, right? The superior talent and athleticism. The Spurs advantage was supposed to be that, they were poised and then they just melted down, right? Ginobili was having turnovers left and right. I blame Popovich for the bad decision not having Duncan in, right? Like Popovich is supposed to be the best coach in the league and, tactician par excellence. And here he got caught with the wrong decision. And the thing, you can't say that they always had Duncan out in those late game situations and that they were afraid that like Bosh would take a three, because in game one, they let Bosh. There was a still photo that I probably tweeted out that they let Bosh take a late three. They're like, have at it. And he missed it, right? Like Duncan was like back in the paint. Duncan wasn't, I think. But even if he wasn't, they let Bosh take the three. That was their preferred choice. So if you're going to let Bosh take the three, then why not have Duncan in, right? And just not switch and just drop off and have Duncan down in the lane to rebound. So I thought it was a bad coaching decision by Popovich. I thought Ginobili melted down. And, Parker was great, but I don't know. Duncan disappeared. I don't know what else happened, but those were the two things that stood out about very un-Spursian of them, right? So that would be kind of the reason I did that. But I don't know when and how it got switched over to the golden rope. But it was, I know I went into that locker room. I told my students about this too. So after a devastating loss like that in the press conference, I'm not going to ask Popovich or Tim Duncan, hey, did you see the golden rope was out there? That's kind of a cute thing. And Popovich isn't really doing cute at that point.
Yeah. He's going to pop you. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first person I quote, the person I asked about it was in the locker room. It was Gary Neal, right? The stars are all at, Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, they're all at the interview room. But I needed to go up to somebody. Kawhi was in there. But I'm not going to ask Kawhi about that, right? Like Gary Neal, it's funny. So a student asked me a good question. They said, did you have a relationship with him where you knew you could get the answer one? Like, good enough, I guess. But he gave, he said, the quote was, I saw the rope. We all saw it.
Oh, wow.
And I just needed that confirmation that they had seen it. Right. And so, it's this tactical thing. Like, would it be great to have Popovich or Duncan talk about it? Yeah. The likelihood of getting the answer I was looking for in that press conference setting?
Yeah.
Probably not going to happen, right?
I saw the rope. Spurs reserve Gary Neal said everybody saw the rope, but they continued to play. They made shots, and they came back and won the game. The opening line from Jay Adande in this column, it's beautiful. The yellow rope to provide a sanctuary for the NBA champions in the midst of the arena was in place, ringing the court near the feet of the ticket holders in the most expensive seats. The orange armbands that would allow reporters inside that yellow rope had been dispensed. A league official had all the Bill Russell NBA Most Finals MVP ballots in his hands and was busy tallying the media's votes. They were all the accoutrements of success, the logical necessities that come before it.
Accoutrement. Les accoutrements.
It's a writer.
WemByA. The logical necessities that come before the official ceremony, crowning the NBA's new king. Full circle, guys. The NBA's new king, the accoutrement. Maze, did I do that right?
That wasn't bad. Yeah.
Okay.
I approve.
Tom, you inspired me to go back and look at my emails for what I could find from that time. And I found,
Tom, you got to forward that thread to me.
Yeah, I will.
I found from Tuesday, June 18th at noon, the Spurs recap. Including the line that the Spurs stand as a reminder to every owner and GM who are looking for a quick fix to firing a head coach or shaking up the roster that is virtue and patience, especially when you know you have good people working for you. Here's a review of their remarkable season that ended in a championship. And the email I sent to Mike Wong, who was my editor, was, we'll need to rewrite a lot of this if they lose this series.
So the interesting thing going back in that is, so the next year I was actually in Miami and I flew back. The Spurs were in LA and I got like the first flight back out of Miami. I was doing the sidelines of the game there because I wanted to talk to Popovich about how they recovered from that to just pound the Heat in the finals the next year. And talked about 10 minutes. It was probably the best Pop I've ever got because he really opened up about his philosophy. But he said that it wasn't just the way that they came back the next year and won the championship. To him, they proved their mettle the way they came back and played Game 7. And in that story that you read, Tom, near the end, I said, like, how do they come back from this? Because they looked so emotionally devastated. They had like 48 hours to come back and try to win the game. And to their credit, they did. And that was the best Game 7 I've ever covered, was that one, coming off the most heart-wrenching loss I've ever covered in the finals. And for them to do that was a testament to their fortitude. And so Pop used that going into the next season, said, you guys have already proven that you have it. The way you came back in that Game 7, that showed what you were made of. And then they proceeded to really show it through the next year. But honestly, rewatching that game as I did last week, the way they came back in the overtime and the way they played, because they took the early lead. Like, they were undaunted after just having the trophy snatched from their hands and the golden rope receding. They weren't fazed, and they came out and just the Heat just finally outplayed them. But they didn't wilt. Kawhi, as he told me when I asked him about the free throw that he missed, which let the door open for that Ray Allen shot, he said, I just missed it. I felt fine. He said, look, in overtime, I made my first 2 shots. Like, things weren't too big for me. I just missed the free throw. It felt good when I left it. I just missed it. I made the second one, and then I made my shots in overtime. It just happened. So it wasn't like, I don't know, was he a rookie then or was his second year? He was early in his career, right?
His third year. No,
he looks really young. It's just funny when you watch it.
Was his second year.
Yeah.
He looks closer to like Michael B. Jordan as Wallace in The Wire than he does like Smoke and Stack.
You remember Torian Prince on the press conference when he was asked about how he got out rebounded, and I think it was when he was at Baylor.
Yeah.
And he's like, so this is what happens. That's what Pop did to you when you asked him, so what's your, like, how do you rebound and come back for Game 7? At the end of your story, he writes, get them on a bus.
I don't think.
Oh. So somebody did, and you used it for one of your final graphs here. It says, get them on the bus. It arrives at the ramp over there. We get off the bus. We get on the court, and we play. Perfect Pop.
Yeah. And then the funny thing is, this is one of my big regrets. So the Game 7 pregame press conference with the coaches, right? And I didn't even bother to go because I'm like, it's none of these things are going to be used. This is all going to be completely useless 3 hours from now once the game is over. Nothing said before the game is going to matter, right? We're going to have our definitive ending. One team will be the champ and the other won't. So what's all this, like, I'm not even going to go to the press conference. Plus, it's Popovich. He's going to be in a bad mood. And then I remember somebody comes up, he's like, oh man, Pop was great. Did you sit in for that, Tom? Or me? And he was just great. So you can find the transcript on ASAP Sports. They have all the transcripts. I want to go back and I look, they printed out the transcript. I'm like, oh my God, Pop was just like holding court.
It's because you weren't there.
It was fun. And I missed it because so a good lesson for any aspiring journalists out there, just never assume anything, right? So I just assume like, oh, it's going to be useless. But Pop's not going to be good. Why bother? And then like people say like, oh my God, Pop is so great.
Yeah.
Jay, so Spurs and Heat, we're talking about them. Do either of them qualify for dynastic?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely, both of them. Yeah, we'll probably do one on both.
Despite the interesting thing is the Spurs.
So
only 2 titles.
That's the thing is the Spurs never really had a dynasty, but that's why I like the name dynastic. They certainly have been dynastic or dynastics, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, it doesn't technically have to be a dynasty, but we can certainly say the Spurs were dynastic, right? You'd all agree with that. So,
sure.
And the Heat, 2, back to back, 3 in how many years, Tom? They won in 06, so 3 in 7 years.
Yeah.
3 in 7 years. Not a dynasty, right? But dynastic. right? And again, my unofficial rule, we haven't gotten together to officially declare this, but I think you got to win at least 3. The franchise needs at least 3 championships to be considered dynastic.
Okay. So Pistons, not dynastic.
Ooh. Well, they won 3.
But
the franchise, right? The Bad Boys won 2.
It doesn't matter.
Right?
But
the franchise has won 3.
Got
right?
you. All right.
I'm not sure because, I mean, they technically qualify on that. Like,
there has to be some connective tissue, though. Like, there has to be a player, a coach.
But also there has to be like kind of like, tradition of greatness, I think, to some extent, right? And
Rockets.
Like,
Rockets, not dynastic.
Rockets with 2? No.
Yeah. Despite them being so great in the 90s, for pretty much a strong decade, even before that, you go back to going to the finals a couple of times in the 80s. I mean, for a strong 2 decades, they were a very, very formidable franchise.
They'd be lower on my list. Like the Milwaukee Bucks, 2 in 50 years, and very, very good, and they were very good in the 80s, right? Yes. Marcus Johnson, Lanier, all those guys. But they weren't dynastic, Sidney Moncrief, but they weren't dynastic.
I think they.
You know what's interesting?
Dynastic.
I'll ask you guys on this. The Denver Nuggets, because did they win 2 in the ABA? They got 1 in the NBA.
1 in the ABA. I don't think they had 2. Hold on.
So 1 in the ABA, 1 in the NBA. Really good in the 80s. Jokic, all-time great.
The rules are pretty loose here, Jay. That it could be ABA or it could be NBA. You just need to have 3.
So what we talked about today, what happens when you have hard and fast like the 65-game rule?
Extraordinary circumstances to get in dynastic.
Right. We don't need to any extraordinary circumstances, grievances need to be filed here. Maybe some fan base will, because they'll feel excluded. But
Nuggets never won in the ABA. They lost in the finals. They lost in the finals.
Well,
so Larry Brown never won until Kansas, and then the Pistons.
Sounds like those are ordinary circumstances. I thought he won in the ABA.
So,
not extraordinary.
Louisville basketball. Crum won in '86. Did he win in the '70s? Pitino won 1.
We're folding in Louisville now.
No, I'm just saying, like, Louisville's a pretty storied basketball program, right?
Yeah.
But are they dynastic?
Probably not.
Like, that's the thing. I'm like, it's funny, like, the Bulls, although we're not going to do them for a long time if we ever do, just because I think they've been covered pretty well by that Last Dance thing, right? So one of the things guiding our early choices, right? Like, you think of obvious, like Lakers, Yankees, right? But we've had plenty done on the Lakers. We've had plenty done on the Cowboys recently, right? So we'll get to them, but it'll take a while. But like, it's crazy. We really haven't anything done on the Dodgers, right? Not to the extent of like a multi-part documentary,
right?
And
it's probably in the works
right now. The Steelers. Right, we had a multi-part doc on the Steelers. So the Steelers unquestionably are dynastic, right? And yet we haven't seen a deep. So we were looking for like the big early on as we're trying to build up. Who are the big ones that we haven't heard a lot about, that haven't been done to death? And so, Bulls, Cowboys, Lakers. Those are teams you think of when you think of dynamic or certainly appealing, right?
Montreal Canadiens.
Habs.
Oof, tough sell. Yeah. So what's interesting, I like the New York Islanders, dynastic.
Islanders, the early 80s,
right?
Yep.
Where they went 4 straight.
Yeah.
But
okay. I think this
is relevant. There. So you have to balance, right? Like how many people are listening to that? They're certainly dynastic. They qualify, but how many people are going to listen to a deep dive? How many people in the U.S. are going to listen to a deep dive on the New York Islanders or the Canadians or the Edmonton Oilers, right? The Edmonton Oilers, for sure. You got Gretzky out of it. Maybe the Oilers just because you get Gretzky.
But
and he's kind of bigger than.
I seem to remember you telling a story once. You mentioned to me that was it the LA Times pulled you off the 2003 finals? Was it the Spurs Nets to go cover?
Roger Clemens was going for either his 300th win or a strikeout record or something.
I think if the LA Times pulls you off a series, not a dynasty. You know, the Spurs.
Oh,
they don't have the influence.
Oh, you say that.
You know?
I mean, that's the thing too. Like, I'm sure we'll get to the Spurs, but like, you know, then the ratings have shown it. Like, they're not, you know, we got to think about what's the most pop we can have. And Spurs,
they pulled you off the NBA finals. That's nuts. Yeah.
No. I mean, seriously though, that's telling though. Like, if we're trying to think, okay, what can get the biggest audience? Like, the Spurs are more dynastic than the Heat, but I think the Heat with LeBron, more LeBron than the Heat, right? But you know, but the Heat have had LeBron and Shaq and Dwayne Wade. You know, they've had these major figures. So, and again, these are all my personal opinions. These are not representative necessarily of Dynastic Limited LLC or whatever our LLC is called.
I like that caveat. Yeah.
But they you know, just thinking about this, right? Like, the Heat would probably make for a bigger audience than the Spurs.
For sure.
The Spurs are more qualified than the Heat. So before people get upset, just understand is the business. Like I always say, there's a reason why it was always the Yankees and the Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball, because that's what people watched. I'll say again, nothing is more democratic than sports decisions. What is selected to air on the choices that TV networks make is extreme. You, the people, determine that. It's not that ESPN forces the Yankees on you all the time. No, you, the people, say we want to watch the Yankees because it's proven when the Yankees and the Red Sox are on, that's the only baseball you watch.
Do you remember
Lakers, that's why you get the Lakers.
I'll tee you up right here. What did David Stern say when they asked him, is Lakers-Celtics the dream matchup in the finals?
No, Lakers versus Lakers would be the dream matchup in the finals. The most honest thing and I'm not calling him a dishonest man, but never was he more honest than when he said that. That's when the truth was laid bare for all to see. Like, yes, it is dream scenario to be the Lakers versus the Lakers.
Jay Adande, go check out Dynastic. I even thought that maybe Ish Smith would have had a better 3-point shot if he was Itch Smith, you know?
Itch Smith? Or Smith-ish.
Yeah. Smith-ish. Can I have a Smith-ish, please?
Smith-ish.
Anything else you want to tell the people about before we let you go?
No, just check out the Dynastic Pod at all your local things. I'm really proud of it, actually. You know, we put good work at Chuck Todd. Shows his sports chops. You know, you've seen him on NBC and Meet the Press and Today's Show, but he really getting to know him a little bit after we taped that first episode. Like, it's kind of cool because he's a Gen X sports guy like me. You just haven't seen him covering sports all this time, but his knowledge, his recall of stuff, and we kind of have things from the same perspective. Even though he grew up in Miami and I grew up in LA, we I think have a real similar approach to it. So it's cool. I'm looking forward to watching it grow and having it gain traction. You know, one day there's no basketball Illuminati yet, but like that's, you know, that's our goals.
Well, the illumination will follow and they will listen. So that's what we do. We move. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate you coming on. That was a really fun trip down memory lane. That was great. Yeah. I'll send you those emails.
I try not to get too nostalgic with it, but like the past is so fascinating. You know, that's kind of the thought process behind the podcast that we're doing, right? Like, it's just also like when you have the perspective now, so when we can look back on it and know what the real outcome was. I don't know. It's just, I mean, this is an interesting time in the NBA too, don't you think? But we always keep wind up talking about who's hurt.
I know.
Extraordinary circumstances, man.
We talk as much, if not more, about who isn't playing. That's probably been the biggest problem with the NBA narrative, hasn't it been the last few years? Like, we're talking as much about who isn't playing than we are about the guys who are playing.
I would argue the 65 game rule did that. It is involved more talk about how many games has Wemby played? Well, hold on. He gets 2 15-minute ones because he got hurt in the middle of this one and it's a rib contusion.
Instead of, did you see what Wemby did last night?
Yeah!
Right? That's what we want to talk about. Oh my God, did you see Wemby last night? I feel like he's prompted more of those than anyone else the last year, right?
Yeah.
He merits more. Like what he's doing merits more conversations. We should just be saying, did you see Wemby last night? Oh my God, WemByA.
WemByA.
Let's make it happen, fellas.